Hello and welcome, my friends. You've found your way to Macabre Minutes, where the ordinary unravels and the shadows tell their secrets. Each week, I'll share a tale, some twisted, some tragic, but always just strange enough to make you wonder, could it happen to you? So, pour yourself a drink, find a comfy spot and lock the doors. And whatever you do, don't look behind you. Because sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that feel the most familiar. Now, if you enjoyed today's story, please like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell so you always hear the death toll ring when a new video drops. I am your humble host, Scully, and this is Macabre Minutes, where fear has a face and time always runs out. Some people leave bruises that you can't see. They don't shout. They don't strike. They simply twist reality until the only thing you trust less than them is yourself. Lana knew about this all too well. She grew up experiencing this particular brand of emotional abuse, the kind that starts at home and follows you into adulthood, like a second shadow. But today was a new day for Lana. She pulled her jeans up to her waist and sat down on the side of the bed to lace up her sneakers. She pulled her favorite oversized hoodie over her head, the green one with the gold linework butterflies across the chest, and continued to get ready for her day. Lana was raised in a nowhere town. The people there were mostly old, angry farmers and ranchers, blue-collar through and through. Gray skies and cold hearts, her grandmother Sue used to say. Lana loved her grandma. She was probably the only stable person she had in her life growing up. Her memories of them together were always able to put a smile on her face, even during the hardest times. Lana looked at herself in the vanity as she finished doing her makeup. Stretching a dark green hair tie around her thumb and fingers, she pulled her shoulder-length brown hair into a single, straight ponytail. She loved wearing her hair this way. It showed off the tattoo on the nape of her neck, the tattoo of a small rabbit, her grandma Sue's favorite animal. Her grandma was the only good part of her family. Lana's mother was pretty much never home, but when she was, all she did was scream at Lana and her dad. Oh, her dad. He wasn't mean like her mom was, but he was just as bad in his own ways. He was always home, always unemployed, and felt no need to change either. Lana never wanted to give her mom reason to yell at her more than she already did. She knew from a young age to stay quiet, stay invisible, stay off her mom's radar. By the time she was 16 and breaking out of her house most nights just to get away for a while, Lana mastered the art of disappearing. Now, at 27 years of age, she had finally escaped her hometown and her parents for good. This all came after a 5-year relationship with a man who strategically chipped away at her, piece by piece. Adam was an awful man, a terrible partner, and even worse, he was a perfect mixture of both of her parents. He called her things like dramatic, and said she read into things that didn't exist, that she was twisting reality. He wasn't physically abusive, but that didn't make him any less of a narcissistic, abusive asshole. The gaslight in his eyes burned hotter than any flame ever could. After escaping his abuse, she knew it was time to leave. She had found the listing for the apartment by accident while helping a friend look for a new place to live. Historic charm right in the middle of downtown. To be honest, the description didn't really matter to her. It was cheap and it was far from home, so it already met the only 2 criteria she had in mind. She didn't even tour the apartment in person. She signed the lease online, tossed her things in the backseat, and drove off feeling an overwhelming sense of pride in herself for finally doing what she knew was best for her. She did, of course, have to leave her job to move to the city, but after years of writing for the local paper, she knew she would be able to find a new job soon enough. Lana was good at what she did, and she knew she would find success here. Writing was in her blood. But her imagination would tend to blur reality and fiction at times, but that's what made her writing style so good. Late that night, after a long drive and arriving in her new city, she finally got to see her new place. The apartment was small, but it was fully furnished. The floors were old linoleum, yellowing and cracking from age. There were bookshelves filled with leather-bound novels and a fireplace to keep her warm. The kitchen had definitely seen better days, but that clawfoot tub in the bathroom, oh man, she fell in love with it instantly. She always wanted to have one, but never thought she'd be able to get it. It was the kind of place that felt long forgotten to time. In the morning, after a good night's sleep, she would check the inventory of furnishings left by her landlord, but for now, she needed time to think, to rest, and to recover from the trip. So she laid down in her new bed, closed her eyes, and drifted off to sleep. Lana woke up that first morning at about 9 a.m. to the sound of birds singing sweet songs to each other outside her window. She didn't wake up to screaming or hearing how lazy of a person she was. She woke up to a renewed sense of freedom. As the sun trickled through the drapes, Lana got out of bed, washed her face, and brushed her teeth. She had to get to work on checking the inventory right away. And no matter what her ex Adam used to say, she was no slouch. She was a strong-willed woman. She went down the list one by one, marking off every item as she found them. Dresser? Check. Nightstands? Check. Every piece of furniture all the way down the list. There was one thing, however, one piece of furniture that wasn't on the paper. The mirror. The mirror wasn't on the list. She noticed it the moment she stepped into her new apartment. A beautiful antique mirror that was propped up leaning against the wall. Why the hell isn't this on the list? It's gorgeous, she said aloud to herself. The frame looked to be an antique brushed silver, engraved with what looked like old Viking-style runes. It seemed pretty odd that the landlord hadn't mentioned it in the paperwork. Still, she didn't mind. Lana liked strange things. She loved to visit oddity shops back home whenever she got the chance, so the mirror fit right in with her vibe. She also liked the silence here. After all the screaming matches, the broken glasses, and the final slam of the door that marked the end of 5 years with that jerk Adam, silence and strange were a welcome change. Lana looked at herself in the mirror. She ran her middle finger across the deep scar through her eyebrow. Remembering that night was hard. She still couldn't piece together what actually took place that night of the party. All she remembered was the blood in the pool, not how it got there or whose it was. Her friend group seemed to break apart after that night, and if her friends actually knew what happened, well, they didn't tell her. But the apartment was darker than it looked like online. The sun filtered through the windows like it was passing through old smoke. They definitely needed good cleaning, she thought. She wanted to check every room to see what she wanted to keep, what she could sell, and what needed to be fixed. But every time she tried to leave the bedroom, she found herself looking at that mirror. It was weird. The mirror seemed to drink in the gloomy atmosphere of her new home, its surface never quite reflecting light the way it should. That first night, she passed it on the way to her bed. She stopped, admired her reflection, and fixed the strands of her hair. It was very dark in the apartment, but something seemed off. Standing in the dimly lit room, she could have sworn that she saw her reflection move slightly late, like there was a delay in time. Of course, she just laughed it off. Besides, she hadn't eaten all day. That's all it is, she whispered to herself. But that night, when she turned out the lights and climbed into her new bed, laid her head on the pillow, and pulled the comforter up to her chin, she felt her senses tense up. That feeling you get when you know someone is in the room with you before you even see them come in. She knew she was alone, but for some reason, something seemed off. Lana gasped for air as she woke up in the middle of the night. She looked at her phone. It was a little after 2 a.m. She breathed deeply, trying to slow her heart rate down while realizing there was no reason for her to wake up like that. No dream she could remember, no nightmares. But she got that feeling again, that something wasn't quite right. But as she looked around her room, she saw there was nothing, no physical threat to be seen at least. But suddenly, out of thin air, a voice echoed. She could hear the voice inside her head. Or was it inside the bedroom? She couldn't really tell. "You're not alone anymore," the voice told her. Fear turned to a strange comfort as she heard the sweet voice say, "You're not alone now. You're safe here with me." She couldn't tell where the voice was coming from, but her eyes were drawn to the mirror as she listened. She figured with all the stress she had been through lately, the voice had to be her own subconscious, helping her through this big life change. Eventually, she was able to fall back asleep. Over the next few days, the voice would return. She was starting to feel that this wasn't in her head, but the voice was never threatening, just present, and it seemed to know her. "You were right to leave. You're stronger than you think." It was almost therapeutic in a way. It began to remind her of her Grandma Sue's voice, and Lana didn't know anyone in this town. She didn't have any friends yet, no family here. She was on her own, and over time, Lana started talking back to the voice. Not aloud, just in her thoughts. Always looking at the mirror as she did, she tried to think toward it, and somehow it answered. Not with words, but with feelings, images, echoes. One night, Lana decided to just go with it, and sat on the floor with her legs crossed in front of the mirror and whispered at her own reflection, "What are you?" While gazing into the beautiful mirror, admiring herself just a little, her reflection winked at her. She jumped to her feet and ran towards the bedroom door, frightened. But before she got to the door, it slammed shut. She tried to turn the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Scared out of her mind, she turned around and looked at her reflection in the mirror. the calming voice began once again.
You don't deserve the way he treated you. You were right to leave.
The voice helped her feel at peace, so she sat down again, staring into the eyes of her reflection.
I won't hurt you. You're safe now.
From then on, the mirror started showing her things. Flashbacks of memories that were not hers. A birthday party where no one sang. A car ride in the rain that ended in blackness. A man's face, stitched shut at the mouth, weeping behind the glass. Each night, the mirror asked her to do something. Little things, nothing major. And every time she did it, she did what their voice asked of her. Until the voice whispered, "Let me speak through you." The voice was no longer a whisper. It had taken root in Lana's thoughts, woven itself between memory and instinct like ivy in the cracks of an old wall. She couldn't tell where her mind ended and the mirror began. She barely noticed anymore, and the mirror was quickly becoming her only priority. Each day, her reflection seemed more confident, straighter posture, a subtle smirk she didn't remember making. It was mimicking her, but better. It was improving her, and Lana started to feel like the one who was an imitation. She stopped going out altogether and stopped trying to make new friends. Time moved strangely, as if the clock in the room had slowed, but only when she looked away. That night, she sat in front of the mirror longer than usual. The hour was late, the building silent, save for the ticking of the old clock above the fireplace. She stared at herself. Her reflection blinked, slow, deliberate, and tilted its head just slightly off sync. Lana's breath caught in her throat. The voice came again.
You're almost ready.
She swallowed. Ready for what?
To let go.
The glass shimmered like a disturbed pond. Her reflection reached forward from the other side. Fingers touched the inside of the glass, and the surface, it began to ripple. Lana stood slowly, stepping back, heart pounding. No, she whispered. I didn't agree to. You already did, the voice said. The lights flickered, shadows grew long and crooked across the floor. The mirror glowed faintly from within, like a lantern underwater. She heard a chair scrape across the hardwood floor. She turned, but saw nothing that could make the sound. When she turned and looked back at the mirror, her reflection was gone. She didn't see herself anymore. Only the empty room stared back at her. Then the sound of movement, but not in the mirror, behind her. Her reflection now stood where she should be, wearing her face, wearing her clothes, watching her through the glass. It raised a hand and pressed it gently to the inside of the mirror. Your turn, it said in her voice. Don't fight it. Lana lunged forward to stop it, but she hit the glass. She screamed, but the sound never reached the room. The scream stayed inside her own ears, muffled like yelling with your head submerged in a swimming pool. Outside, the other Lana smiled. She, or it, stepped away from the mirror and turned off the light. Suddenly all was darkness, and then silence. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The air smelled sterile, like bleach and something colder, something empty. Her body ached. Her mouth was dry. Her arms were strapped tightly across her chest in a white canvas straitjacket, just like every other day since she had arrived here. The room was padded on all sides. No mirror, no voice, no apartment. Just a soft whimper rising in her throat as it all came rushing back to her. She was still in her hometown. The apartment had never existed. The voice in the mirror was just her own, echoing louder and louder until it finally drowned out the world and all of the chaos. Lana stared blankly, her chapped lips trembling. She suddenly remembered what happened. The blood, the screams. Her parents, they begged her to put the knife down, but she couldn't. She may have hated them, but she knew they hadn't truly deserved what she'd done to them. But Adam deserved everything that happened, and so much more. But she made her point, with the same blade that took her parents' last breaths. He'll never have the chance to treat another woman the way he treated her, and that made it all worth it. She let out a tiny laugh, a single cracked sound that didn't belong in any room. The hallucinations, the mirror, the reflection trying to replace her, none of it had been real. They were all just fragments of a mind shattered too many times, piecing itself back together in the only way it knew how to, with lies and stories. Lana sat still, breathing shallow. Somewhere deep inside her, beneath the medication, beneath the guilt, she could still hear the faintest whisper of a voice, like an echo through cracked glass.
Don't fight it.
Thank you for joining me. If tonight's tale kept your eyes wide and your heart uneasy, then you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you'll always hear it told when a new story finds its way here. Once again, I'm Scully, and this has been Macabre Minutes, where fear has a face and time always runs out.